Well, thank you for hosting this. I really appreciate it, and thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. It's been a long day, but it's been a fun day. It's been an exciting day. I have to tell you, I am so honored to have the people that I have around me. You know, and we were making a decision to run for Congress. It took a lot of convincing, a lot of discussion, a lot of contemplating, a lot of prayer, you know, and we realized that it's the right thing to do. I remember listening to a conversation between two people. It wasn't my conversation, between two people, and one person was giving somebody else advice, and she said, if you have an opportunity to change what's going on, to change our country in a positive direction, you have to do it. You have an obligation to do it. And then I remember hearing that, and I thought, okay, well, okay, well maybe I need to do this. I have an obligation to do this. A little bit about me. I was originally born in Brooklyn, New York, in the Kings County Hospital. My parents immigrated over from Haiti. They had $10 in their pockets. They fled all sorts of tyranny, and they just fled fear and a government that was just overbearing. And I'll give you a story, actually. I asked my father to tell me a story. I said, Dad, tell me a story about when you were growing up in Haiti. And he went right into a story. He said when he was 14 years old, he went to the movies with some friends. He said as he walked out of the movie theater, he saw a group of people running in one direction. And he said at that time, when you saw a group of people running in a direction, you followed. Didn't matter what you do, you would just follow. He said in the U.S., people will take out their iPhones, start taking pictures, seeing what's at the end, behind the crowd. But he said, I ran. And when I looked behind me, I saw a man dressed up in a blue uniform and a blue beret, and my stomach turned because I knew what that image was. That man was known as the Tonton Macoute. They were the president's thugs. They were there originally hired by the president to do the president's bidding. They were there to protect the president, but also would go out and, you know, if the president needed something, this was a private military task force for the president. Well, for kicks and giggles, the same group would shoot somebody in the leg, and if you fell, then they would kill you. And if you were able to get up and run away, then you would live. And that's how they played their game. It wouldn't be rare, my dad said, it wouldn't be rare for them to come into your home, rape your wife, eat your food, sleep in your bed, and there's nothing you could do about it. They had all the power. And so he said, when I saw that vision, I ran. I ran as fast as I could because I knew that if they got a hold of me, I would be dead. So he said he saw a drainage pipe, and he climbed into his drainage pipe and was as quiet as he possibly could be, closed his eyes, and he was so still, he didn't realize how long he was in there. When he opened his eyes, it was daylight. And he said, well, I know they're probably gone. He crawled out and ran home. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, how incredibly frightening for a child that would have been. And I said, you were 14 years old. What are you doing at the movie theaters anyway that late at night? He's like, well, this is what we did. We went out as kids, and he's like, you know, we couldn't stop our lives even though things like this were going on. You don't stop living. So he said, you know, yes, I was scared, but you know who I do not envy? He said, I didn't envy my mother's position because when I didn't come home that night, that meant that I wasn't coming home. In those days, in that age, when those guys were out there, the thugs, the Tonton Macoute, when they were out there, if your son didn't come home at night, it's because they were killed. And he said, you know, I left. We had an opportunity to come to the United States. I left. I took myself. I took your mother, and we left. And he said we had $10 in our pockets. We moved to Brooklyn, pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps. And he said we wanted to be Americans so bad. We were willing to do anything and pay anything. He said they learned the English language. They studied our history because at the time to be an American was a big deal. You had to know some history. You had to know some of the things that you had to know about the Constitution. You had to know some things. And he said he studied. He learned the English language on the day of naturalization. It was the proudest moment of his life. He stood there, he raised his hand, and he pledged his allegiance to the American flag in English, knew exactly what it meant, and exactly the opportunity that he'd been given. And he said he was proud to finally call himself an American. And I tell you this story because I had a front row seat to watching two people realize the truth of the American dream. I had a front row seat to watch my mother and my father work multiple jobs to try and make ends meet. I watched as a life that was full of lessons like about personal responsibility, lessons of hard work, lessons of giving back. They were very giving. Anytime, if you would walk into my house on any given Sunday, my mom, she always, I don't know why she does this, but she makes food for 20 because people always stop by and she's always wanting to feed them, and that's who she is. Because independent people are the ones that give back. People who are grateful for the things that they have are the ones that give back. That's the America I grew up with. That's the America I know. Those are the people that give back. On the first day of college, my dad came with me, and he was so excited because I'm the youngest of three. My brother was in school, my sister was in school, and this was the last child, the first day of the last child going to orientation. He was just, he was always a fun dad. He was going to class with me as if he were going to be a student also. And he just went with me, and I remember he was interacting with the teachers and talking to them, and he looked at me, and he finally got really serious. He was ready to go home. And he said, "You're the last child we're putting through school. Your mother and I have done everything we could to get you here. We've never taken a handout. We've worked hard for everything we have. You will not be a burden to society. You will give back. We came to this country because you will never have to know the fears that my mom knew. You have an opportunity to give back. You will give back." And those are the types of words that stay in your head. I say it a lot. I will continue to say it because, like I said, I have a unique story. My story, even though I grew up here, even though I've lived here, I've had all the privileges and the experiences of growing up as an American child, I grew up understanding what that meant and appreciating what we have here. I also have this unique opportunity to see when it's slipping away. I have this unique opportunity to see where we are and where it can go. You have to understand, in Haiti, it took 2 years for a president that was loved by all, loved by the poor, loved by the rich, to create class warfare that was so awful that people were killing each other in the streets. The last person that had a big manufacturing company out there, his wife was pulled out into the street because everybody hated them. The poor was taught to hate the rich. Pulled her out. She was pregnant, stabbed her in the stomach 20 times, and left her there for dead because she had no right to have money when the poor didn't. Even though she was one that worked in the shelters, one that worked and did all of these other things. They have literally ran everyone out. Haiti's got hard workers, but their problem is they've run all of private industry out. They have no capital. They have some land, but they live day to day. They're not looking at the big picture. They're not looking at the future. And we've got some problems in the United States. I'm not saying that all hope is lost, but we've got some serious problems we have to tackle. We're spending way too much. We've got policymakers that are putting policy in there that have no regard for the Constitution. You've got the NDAA. You've got SOPA. All of these little things, and it has no regard for the Constitution. SOPA, no due process. As far as I'm concerned, that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. Taking away your rights without anybody asking. The government can turn away and turn something off, turn your website off, and because somebody has complained about it. No due process. You've got the NDAA, where you've got detainment of citizens, and although it's well-intended, I understand what the intentions are. What is the cost of freedom? How much are we willing to give away in the name of security? So those are the things that we have to look at. That's when the red flag goes up, and we sit there and we look at the Constitution. If we're going to talk about amending the Constitution, let's have a discussion about it instead of flipping it into bills. But there are things that we're doing. We're regulating. We're over-regulating. We are, for an administration that cares so much about jobs, we need to talk about what we're doing to hurt jobs in the United States. AEP, which is a utility-based company out in Ohio, because of the cost of compliance with the EPA, they've had to close down 6 of their power plants and scale back on the other 5. That cost 600 jobs, and the rest of the cost of compliance went to the consumer. So the person that just lost their job has to go home to a higher bill. We can do a little bit better. As far as I'm concerned, what we need to do is concentrate on bringing everybody from the lowest common denominator up instead of the other way down. So, like I said, there's a lot to do. There are a lot of things that we need to work on. There are a lot of things the federal government is involved in that we really need to think about what the cost is and if we can do it better on the state level. We have, again, $16 trillion of debt that we've got to take care of. Tell one more story, and then we can talk. We can have a discussion back and forth. I announced today at an elementary school, and the reason why I didn't pick the Capitol building or the Hinckley Institute or somewhere that most people announce, because I wanted people to know exactly why I was in this. About a month ago, one of the people that works on my campaign went and substitute taught in a 3rd grade class in one of the schools in Saratoga Springs. And when the students asked him, "What do you do besides work as a substitute teacher?" he said, "I work on Mia Love's campaign for Congress." And this little girl said, "Oh my gosh, my parents love Mayor Love. We think that she's great." She goes back to her desk, draws this picture, and she says, "Here, can you give this to her for me? Can you see that she gets this?" And right away he came to my house, and I looked at this picture, and oh, here it is. I have it. There it is. I looked at this cute picture that she just went and colored, and it's got all these colors of the rainbow, and it's got this little heart. And it says, "Dear Mrs. Love, good luck on your run for Congress. Love, Isabella, a student at SSE, Saratoga Shores Elementary." And I looked at it and I said, here's this little girl who's got all of these hopes and dreams and all of these things that she wants to do with her future. She would never suspect that any adult will do her any harm. And we have allowed our government to rack up $16 trillion in debt. And who's going to have to deal with it? You know who's chasing her? Her Toto Makut, the person that's chasing her is at $16 trillion. There are some changes we've got to make. I'm in this because I am a mother. I'm a mother that looks across the table at my children, and my job is to protect their future, at least give them an opportunity to realize the truth of the American dream. The biggest fear I have, remember I told you my father said, "You will not be a burden to society"? The biggest fear I have is that my children will come to me and say, "Mom, I've done everything you've asked me to do. I expect a lot out of my children. I expect for them to work hard in school. I've done everything you asked me to do. I have not been a burden to society. Society has left a burden on me." My job is to go out and make sure that we, 1, protect our children, 2, we give businesses a chance to create and bring products and bring jobs into the market, and 3, we have got to stop this crippling notion that everybody is entitled to